Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever time of day you're watching this, we're doing here. Well, actually, we're doing this in the afternoon today, for reasons that we won't get into. This is the not live, but the taped Robin Live Student Media Watch show, and it has a lot to do with media and that. And talking about media now with internet and all the different venues that you can go to get the news these days. Ted Turner, when he started with the what they call it, CNN in those days. Well, I think it was Ted Turner, TNT or something like that. Anyway, it was a real breaker. And of course, right, there was a change news every day. 24-hour news, constant news. You were able to tune into. The technology had a lot to do with cable television. I don't think CNN really ever had a network, CNN, NBC. But of course, they do the same thing. They have their own. MSNBC, in fact, is NBC MS, Microsoft. He's the one that Bill Gates is the one that sponsors, that keeps that going. And I can't see. Well, obviously that's how it stays alive, because Bill Gates has got the money to pay people and so on. But who knows if that's going to last? At any rate, we're doing it virtually. Myself, I'm in the studio here in Santa Barbara, and Rob is doing his thing. That he has become. He's a saint. Put it that way. And I mean it too. He does things for people that I don't think I'm capable of doing, quite honestly. And for me, actually, too. I'm, I'm 83. I'm going to be 84 now in about 2 weeks or something like that. And he keeps an eye on me, and for a lot of different reasons. At any rate, Rob, show Rob so we can see him. There he is. Rob is how are you doing?
I personally am doing fine.
Okay.
I almost can't stand myself. I'm so happy.
Well, that's what the pursuit of happiness, and you're still pursuing that, huh?
It's hard not to be smug, but I'm doing my best.
Okay. Anyway, so let's get started. We got some slides we're going to show. Number one, relating to the State of the Union address that the president made yesterday, the day before, Tuesday, I guess it was. We're going to show those, and Rob will make comments on them, and I will make comments on them too. So let's begin.
Okay, and I know that our magnificent candidate for sainthood director can hear me. I wanted to show a picture. I didn't get around to putting a good number on, so its number is 0, and I also called it something like No Joe, because the New York Times is actually declaring that Biden is a great president and he shouldn't run again.
Should run again. Yeah.
I don't know if people can see that, but I thought that it was intriguing that the paper of record is tremendously respected by at least Democrats and probably other people too.
Yeah.
They're thinking maybe not Joe next time around.
Now this is headline then after he gave the State of the Union just recently?
No, it's probably a couple days before.
Okay.
It was an op-ed.
Okay.
I think it was run on the 6th, and I think the State of the Union, today is the 9th.
Yeah.
So the State of the Union was the 7th.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought it interesting that basically the New York Times is saying, don't run again, Joe. And I think you and I have discussed the possibility that you have to say, well, who is a high-profile Democrat who's going to run? Clearly, Gavin Newsom.
Well, there'll be a lot of them. Get Kamala Harris. She has a following. Whether else you might think about her, she is a black woman, and a black woman. I guess her father at least was African American or something like that, but her mother is Asian too. That's right. She's Asian, black, and a woman, and obviously she has a tremendous following, women. And if they decide not to have her, that's for starters, not to have her as the vice president nominee this time around. That's going to work out. I think work against the Democrats, because hopefully, well, how can I put this? the constituency that follows that was going to be very disappointed, pissed off. They're not going to like that at all, basically. And so that's for starters, just for that. But then again, you have to keep in mind, and I'll go back for a little history here, if I might. In 1944, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the President of the United States, decided to run for a fourth term. Keep us both on the monitor, will you, please? I want to see my man when I'm talking to. They were running, and they had a guy named, I believe his name was William Wallace, and who had become the vice president in 1940 when FDR was elected. For reasons that are complicated and so on, I don't think he actually ever held public office up to that time. He might have been, maybe the governor. He was he made a lot of money or his family made a lot of money in generating seeds that would grow corn better and different crops better and so on. Anyway,
DuPont.
He was very frightening to a lot of Democrats once he got the guy that was there before. I forgot his name now. Do you know his name? 1932 and 36.
No, I'm sorry.
He was the guy from Texas who made the comment. And he was the vice president. Made the comment that the vice presidency isn't worth spit. Anyway, he didn't want the job anymore. And so they met William Wallace. We're now in 1940 to 1944. He's the vice president in a wartime. He said some things and had some ideas and so on that scared the crap out of all of the political bosses in Kansas City, Chicago, New Orleans, New York, places like that.
I wish I knew what those were.
They wanted to get rid of the guy because, and if FDR, who was not in good health in 1944, even then they knew that he was not. he was may pass away, as Joe Biden. He's 80 years old. That's his time. People die in those situations. And I'm not saying he should or should not, and so on. It's just whatever happens, happens. But for going back to 1944. If FDR died, this guy was going to be president of the United States. It's, as I already have said, that scared the bejesus out of all the political bosses and the Democratic Party. So they decided to nominate somebody else, and they did Harry Truman, who nobody even knew who he was, basically.
No.
And certainly the political bosses knew, but they made it. They told FDR that that's the guy they wanted to be his nominee for vice president, and that's what FDR did. And of course, they ended up being president. And quite honestly, I think he was a pretty good president for a variety of reasons. They got a pretty good deal on that. At any rate, going back to Biden now, of course, and that you have to consider here this. You want Kamala Harris to be the president of the United States. That's the question. You'll see this now in all the newspapers and New York Times and on the TV. They'll debate the okay, I guess I'll use the same word. They'll debate the crap out of it. You'll be turning it off to turn on the next channel, and they'll be talking about it, both Fox and CNN. So that's for starters, to say this, and after that, of course, there'll be all kinds of people that will. Newsom's already running for president, the governor of California.
And there's something you might have missed here about Kamala Harris, and that's if she's running for president and you aren't in favor of her, you're a racist and a sexist. Good to know, isn't it?
You're what is what?
I said, if you're not in favor of Kamala Harris as president, then you're a racist and a sexist.
Oh yeah, well that's what they'll say. You can't. Well, that's what people, women of the world. If there's a black woman, Asiatic and black, and a woman who had the potential to could at least run, but she won't run against Joe Biden, but she'll run with him. But she may very well end up being the president. That's the question. I mean, she already ran for president once, and she didn't even make it through the first primary.
Look, with all of her coaching, she still hasn't lost that cackle, and she still talks to rooms full of adults like they're 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
And says stuff that would come out of a Dr. Seuss book as though it was profound.
Yeah.
And I'm just That's not my choice. That's not my pick.
Well, to make your point, but however, this is not going to be an easy. He may run for president, but he may not run for another term. But he may not even get nominated, let alone up against whoever's going to run against him. And Donald Trump, it's another match between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. You know, like you say, he's the best of everything. What's that expression? So and so is and the least.
Trying to say that the system is terrible except for being better than the others.
Better the other guy, right? You know, that's the nature of our system. We get to elect two different guys, although there's been many third-party candidates that didn't get elected themselves, but they screwed up the election. 1912, of course, the current president came in third behind Woodrow Wilson and Teddy Roosevelt. And of course, was it 62 or no, wait, then 19...
Ross Perot in 92.
Ross Perot, right. When was that? 1976?
92.
1992. He came... if it hadn't been for Ross Perot, who did get 20% of the vote, which is amazing. Didn't carry any electoral votes, of course, but he had that 20%. If that 20%, and he was hopefully a Republican, Bush would have been reelected or elected. No, reelected, I guess it was. Yeah, reelected.
Yeah, he would have been reelected by a comfortable margin.
Yeah, and let's face it, Bill Clinton was he was never a majority president. He got a plurality of both when he ran in 92 and 96, but he didn't get the most votes. Well, he got the most votes, but
he didn't get more than half.
Majority, yeah, 50% plus one.
I don't know. I think Biden may be our first, majority president, if you accept the numbers, in a long, long time.
Yeah. That's true. Well, there's been others, different times. I think whenever there was never a third party running, that's when it was. Even the Bush did too, but it was a little closer. I mean, let's face it, without Ross Perot, I don't know. Well, that's the way it is. People think in terms of it's only the two-party system. No, this isn't a two-party system. It's an anybody party system. It's a better two-party system than, say, Israel or Britain or France, who has in Israel alone, I think they have 10 or 15 parties. In fact, the guy that's now Netanyahu, what is his name? The guy that's president now of Israel, Netanyahu. Sounds funny to say that, but anyway. He was the president, and now he's back to president again. But now he still doesn't have the majority. He had to have, as they're calling it, extreme parties to get the majority. And in fact, in Sweden, the party that runs the country never did get even the plurality. They just don't accept it. Because there's some what they call Sweden First or something like that. That party that now is the second largest party in the country. At any rate, what were we talking about? I can't remember now even. Where were we?
We're looking at who's likely to be on the ticket.
Yeah.
But let's see. I think in the Joe Biden theme, I wanted to show the picture I labeled number 100. Joe looks pretty angry, and this is the one that I think of as "Get off my lawn."
Want to show that picture, Mike?
Let's see if we can do that.
100. This is public access television. We get to do what we want. Okay, it says here, Biden calls global warming, put it back on. Global warming, bigger threat to humanity than nuclear war during New York City in a speech. Get off my lawn. Global warming, huh? Nuclear threat. The nuclear
seems like a cri de coeur. Yeah.
Nuclear
seems like a cry from the heart.
Nuclear physicists, they have that magazine that has a clock on it that's so much to the end of the world, and it's in the last minute of that hour or whatever it is, and so on. It has been for years. That's of course, it's true.
Union of Atomic Scientists, and they, of course, that's always been just a publicity thing, but they try to gauge it in terms of who's doing what. Well, I look at that as, well, let's see, we're sort of having a proxy war in Ukraine with a nuclear-armed, former Soviet Union. One of the smartest things that we ever did at the end of the Cold War was we actually bought a bunch of their nuclear weapons and reprocessed the warheads for using in nuclear power plants. But,
wait a minute. Russia's nuclear warheads?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
they decommissioned a lot of it at the
Yeah.
end of the Cold War, but they didn't decommission all of it.
Okay,
And
I
I would
see.
have told anybody, of course they won't decommission all of it. I wouldn't decommission all of it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're a nuclear power, and now you said, yeah, I wish I ruled at least Asia, and I'm a nuclear power, but I'm giving it all up.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
the climate change too
no.
is that whole thing about climate. I got it's another way. What is the guy from Chicago that used to be the mayor? He says, "You never pass up a good panic or something
Never
like
let a
that.
good crisis or a good emergency go to waste.
Go to waste, right? Here it is. Climate change. Throw some money at it, and you get to take over. Take over the weather, take over how people live, and so on. And they make it sound like it's a real crisis to do that, and that's what they're
It's
doing.
the end of the world.
That's what they're
it's
doing.
Worth your life and your soul.
And
If
we
you
can,
don't.
yeah, but we can take care of it. We can fix it with a lot more money and this kind of regulation. But
yeah, and
it
whatever
doesn't
you do,
apply to us
don't
and so
question.
on. It only applies to you. You got to drive those cars. We don't have to.
No, we're still flying our private jets. We could teleconference and thus have no jets, but we're going to be flying our private jets to all the places that that the rich and elite wanted to go anyway.
Yeah. I think it's the city of Los Angeles or the county, I've forgotten what it is. They're declaring no more gas stoves. You can't have a gas stove. Well, I guess they'd give you some time to do it, but no new construction will have gas stoves. You have electric stoves. So your solar power panels on your roof is going to drive your cooking. I'd like to see that. And
I want to see the numbers on the electricity before, because you know
Right.
perfectly well that most electricity in the U.S. is
right.
it's either oil burning or coal burning.
You're right.
They were unhappy with us with the hydroelectric plants because they do interfere with rivers and fish. So we've been actually tearing out hydroelectric dams. I know that's happened a bunch in the state of Washington.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a lake I rather like that I think is going to be a hell of a lot lower because they're tearing out the dam that makes that lake.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're going to get rid of the hydroelectric dams. Nobody, even though I think nuclear power, if it's done right, is fine, but they don't want the nuclear power, and the solar is going to turn out. The solar doesn't supply enough.
Right.
And we're not too good at energy storage yet, which is, so.
Can they even store it? Can they store electricity? And batteries, I guess.
Not exactly. Not exactly. I mean, that's batteries that come the closest to that, but we're not, I expect all of this to improve.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not somebody who says, the way it is now is the way it's always going to be. That's not the case. It will get better. Batteries will get better. Frankly, you can do gravity batteries. There's all kinds of terrific tricks you can do to store electricity.
Yeah.
I actually was once, I participated in a firm that was trying to launch a kinetic battery that I thought would have been pretty great. Anyway, right now, what's the problem with solar and with wind? And it's, sun only shines during the day. The wind doesn't always blow. And there's generally you have like a coal-fired backup plant sitting there anyway because it's like, sun hasn't been shining for too long, or the wind isn't blowing, and you still need power, so you have to fire up your coal plant anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking how dirty is the generation of electric power going to be, that if you need a lot of electricity to replace the stoves.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's a good idea.
And that's just the beginning of stuff like that. You know, I have this any kind of situation like that. I've forgotten the other ones that I was wanted to talk about, but that struck me. They're going to do away with stoves in the city. I guess the city of Los Angeles. Karen Bass. That's another one. That homelessness. We could probably talk about that too. But at any rate, let's see some more of those slides of Joe Biden.
I like a picture I wanted to show. I label it as number 110. It's because somebody is telling us that Biden is so much better than you think he is. That he says, you know, they told us there'd be a Messiah, and you may laugh now, but it's probably Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Anyway, if we've
got
got that
110,
picture,
Mike?
number 110, that would be a great thing to show now. This guy Jonathan who posted this on Twitter,
Okay.
I took a look at that and I thought, I hope that Jonathan is trolling us. I hope he's pulling my leg.
Can you read that for me, please? I can't really read that. If
No, it doesn't show on my screen, so I can't.
All right, okay, whatever. People go. Just,
But at any
what
rate,
does it say exactly?
what he's saying is that
This is his quote now.
coming of the Messiah was predicted,
This is
and it's probably Joe Biden. He said, you may laugh now, but wait till the end of his 8 years of presidency. That's how I knew that this guy was probably pulling my leg.
Yeah, that's again. That's a question to whether he will be another one. Well, I guess that's what like I say. People think that what they're thinking is was everybody else is thinking. Well, that's not necessarily true. There are a lot of people that don't think that he should be running for president. In the climate, in the Democratic side. At any rate, let's go on to the next slide.
Yeah, well, what
We're almost
I think I'd
halfway
like
through the show already.
well, I'd like to touch on is some of what I'd have to call the sexual politics, the trans politics. Anyway, I'm going to go do the slides that I have labeled as 205 and 210 and probably 220. Actually, 205. That'll just be the tail end of the political. You see 205. It's I think it's Irving Kristol.
No, we haven't seen it yet. You got it up, Mike? 205?
205.
Anyway, did you watch it? Did you watch any of the State of the Union?
I did. It was interesting to see Joe that energetic. Of course, I wasn't going to watch an hour.
I watched the
and a quarter
highlights.
of it.
I could watch a baseball game, the highlights.
Yeah, I watched the highlights, just like in baseball. I could watch highlights. The entire game of scratching and spitting and checking the brim of your hat, not so much. Anyway, in the highlights, let's see.
Okay, now we got this is 201, right?
205. McCarthy, Irving Kristol.
Yeah, this guy's got the flags behind him. He's standing there. Is that the one you wanted?
I think it's. I don't know. I can't see it, but
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So Kristol was saying that he said he thought that McCarthy was an election denier, and that election deniers should not be allowed to be speaker. So I slapped a big.
Run that by me again. What did they say? What did they say? What you read? I know McCarthy was the speaker. He became the speaker, but they said he had 15 votes and so on. Which, by the way, historically, that's been I think the one in 1920, and this is when the Republicans controlled both the House and the Senate and the presidency. They had trouble electing the Speaker of the House. Wasn't a simple thing. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just wish I could see my slide. At any rate, let's see. Irving Kristol. I forget what he had. Some magazine that was supposedly conservative, and then he did one called Weekly Standard. Anyway, basically, the guy was a never Trumper. He was. I've never seen him waste an opportunity to stab some Republicans in the back. So as a Republican, I'm not too thrilled with him. Anyhow, he was so much against McCarthy. He was saying, McCarthy was an election denier, and I got to thinking about that, and here was my comment on it, which I hope is on the screen, is that election denier is just it's a smear. It's just when Democrats don't like you and they don't have anything else, you can call you an election denier. But I looked. Isn't every election challenged? I mean, I found that every election of a Republican president in the last 20 or 30 years has been challenged by the Democrats.
Yeah.
So I feel like at the very least we're in good company. But anyway, let's maybe I'd like to go to the wackier. If we have slide 210, which I think I talked to you about, I called it lipstick on a pig.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
This was.
Okay. I want to see
Let
that
me know
one.
when that.
There it
Let me
is.
know when that's up. Because
Now
this is a
Go ahead. Tell me who this guy is.
okay, this guy. Okay, first of all,
Or is he a guy?
not anymore.
Not anymore.
This is a former man who's now the mother of his two kids in Minnesota, and he says that his kids are also trans. He's the trans mother, and he has two, now he says trans kids, and he was trying to get the legislature there to not do what it wants to do, which is ban sex reassignment surgery on children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're probably with me on this. I think that if you're an adult, that you absolutely should have full say over what you choose to do with yourself. If you want to cut pieces off or add pieces on or wear different clothes, you know, it's not even I'm not even going to disrespect you. I just look at it and say, I am assuming that you're working with the drives and needs that you have.
This is in Minnesota.
But I think that it's way, way, way too early to do that for
Right.
children.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so the fact that this guy wants to do that, it's kind of horrifying. But I just saw that picture. I said, this is the witness. This is giving testimony. This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, that's there again. It's one of those things that on the social media now we get this guy's, I'm sure, famous now or infamous in all over the world basically. They can see the guy and so on, how many hits he has on that. And so maybe that's what he wanted to do in the first place. I get probably not, but the bottom line is, did I really need to know that there was a guy like this in Minnesota that had gotten this operation to make him into a woman, and now he wants his two children to do the same thing? But that's happened, so there's nothing you can really do about it. And,
Mostly, I want to stop them from doing it to the children. My little lapel pen would say, "Don't cut the kids."
Yeah.
Well,
that goes back to pursuit of happiness, as I've talked to before. These kids are going to be chained. I guess he's going to have now wait a minute. Does he have two boys, or have two girls, or one boy and one girl? And he's going to switch them like that, or how's that going to work?
This I do not know. But this is the time when I'll remind you of my prediction that in 10 years or so, in 10 years or so, you're going to find a lot of people who were transitioned and had surgeries as kids because their parents encouraged them to do it.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be too happy about it. I mean, maybe lots of them will be happy about it, but some of them will not, and some of them will probably try to kill their doctors
their mother
or
or
kill their
father.
Yeah.
By the way, what happened to the husband in this whole situation? The father became the mother. The original father, what happened to him? You don't know, right?
Yeah. No,
that hasn't come up yet.
But it's your classic, the so-called news doesn't answer the 5 questions, the who, what, when, where, why.
Yeah.
So, you wind up, we're standing there asking the questions, and journalists should be getting you the answers to the questions that everyone would ask anyway. That's the story.
Yeah.
This stuff is just sort of, it's like visual chewing gum.
Yeah, it's one of those things I say. I wonder if this has ever happened before, because they had this, they had the science that they could do these kind of things, and it gets better. Well, better. I won't say better, but use the word better. But it gets more better for some people to do it. They can even change back. I guess if you want to change, I don't know if he can do that. I don't think he can change back. Then maybe they keep his, whatever they cut off, they keep it in formaldehyde someplace, or unfrozen. That's what it was. They keep it frozen for him just in case he changes his mind.
Not a clue.
Hadn't thought about that one.
I've read science fiction stories in which the change and change back was easy and simply a matter of style.
Yeah.
But that's not where we are, and I don't think it's where we'll ever be. And it's not obvious to me that it's a good idea. But I'm not living other people's lives. I'm not going to prevent them from doing things to themselves.
Yeah.
That would be wrong.
Yeah.
I will not do that.
There you go. The two innocent children who are going to change their life, obviously, and it's going to be they're going to be hard on them. Let's face it. Hope they had some kind of idea that it would be. The ramifications of this thing later on. That they think they're doing the good for their children, but other people don't think so.
Well, here's one of those things that nobody saw it coming.
Yeah.
If I said to you 15 years ago, and I've known you for over 20,
Yeah.
if I said to you 15 years ago, the Democrats are going to run on a ticket endorsing cutting off little boys' dicks, and you would have told me, "You're an idiot, Rob. What the hell's the matter with you?" And yet,
I would
here
have
we
my
are.
doubts. Put it that way. Cutting off
I
their
would've-
what?
If I'd said that, I would have thought I was drunk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like a lot of things surprise. But there again, it's the news that makes the news. They don't want to give
Yeah.
the weather and the Walter Cronkite and John Cameron Swayze days. They're long since gone. Now that's the news is, like I say, you got to sell those pillows, right? So you're going to have to get an audience to do it. And this is kind of
Yeah.
what gets people the audience. You talk about the national debt and the ramifications of all the budget and so on and so forth. People have no interest really in that. They don't understand it, basically. I don't even know what myself. I don't know what the national debt is. Now that's kind of the worst one. Not the worst one. Is crypto. I don't know what crypto is either. I'm not sure what
Okay, the national debt at this point is officially it's 32 trillion. If you throw in unfunded liabilities, that is things we promised that we don't have the money for,
Yeah.
it probably runs to around 200 trillion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what's caused this inflation. They threw too much money they threw more money at that when people didn't at things then the price went up because there was limited supply and plenty of money to buy some, but there's a limited supply of whatever it was. Gasoline, for example. By the way, it's gone back up. The gas station that I was going to $4.09. By the way, is now $4.49 in one day. It raised 40 cents. That one I told you about, right? It's gone to $4.49, 40 cents more for gas in that nice station. Which guys I like. It's a good place to go. Anyway, those days are over. It'll come back to $5. It has probably something to do with the weather back east. They use you being from New Jersey, that they're heated with oil.
Yes.
And that's now there's a big demand for that because it was a real cold weather in back east there just recently and so on. So, we can get into all that stuff too with Joe Biden. Anyway, let's go back to your slides.
Yeah, if our producer's handy, I'd like to ask him to show number 220. 220 is about some poor trans bank customer who that called in to do something to the bank and the bank shut off access because I guess this trans person's new name is a female name, but as they put it, he sounded like a dude. So
Sounded like a what? A Jew?
Dude,
Oh,
T-U-D.
dude. Okay, sounded like a dude, right?
Sounded like a dude. So, and now this one, I wouldn't even blame anybody for this. This is just one of those things where you've seen people are what they sound like. If somebody sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm not going to assume that it's not a cheerleader who looks like a pixie.
So they wouldn't serve him, or they just didn't recognize him as being the person that they
he
said
was
he
trying
was?
to get access over the phone, and he was using a female name and trying to to access this account that now had a female name on it, and they say that's a guy. Hang out, So nobody was being bad or trying to discriminate or anything. They just said, "Yeah, you're just somebody on the phone who's saying, yeah, hi, I'm Melissa so and so. Excuse me, "Hi, this is Melissa, and I'd like to transfer some money out of my account." What are they supposed to do? They can't see you. They don't. They don't know your life story. So I'm sorry it happened, but I can only predict more of this and not less.
Yeah, you can imagine a guy answering the phone doesn't sound like a guy, and what the account's in a woman's name or vice versa,
Yeah,
and so
right.
on. Hey, like I say, the Kardashian. What's the guy's name? That the guy that was the Olympic.
Used to be Bruce Jenner, now
Yeah.
it's Caitlyn.
Yeah, Caitlyn and so on. There's another one. I'm not too sure the operation was totally successful, although she did, or he did, ran for governor of California and got votes. And I see him see her on TV all the time and so on.
Yeah.
But he has a very deep voice, and of course, you know that he was that she was a he at one time and so on. And again, that's and they have the Kardashians
Well,
talk about a juggernaut of moneymakers and selling pillows.
Yeah.
These people really know how to make money.
Well, as Bruce Jenner was a pentathlon athlete in the Olympics,
Yeah.
and showed very strongly, and of course was from around Santa Barbara. I think as Bruce Jenner, I think some of my high school classmates had Bruce Jenner as a teacher in junior high at La Colina.
Yeah.
No, if I got the wrong one, I probably have the wrong one. That might have been Bill Toomey.
Yeah, that also, I don't know about
Never
Arnold
mind,
Schwarzenegger.
I got that wrong.
No, he was a weightlifter, but I know that there was a coach at UCSB, a track coach at UCSB who trained decathlon John Workentine, in fact, the guy that still lives here and so on. He originally was and by the way, has nothing to do with what we're talking about, basically.
Okay.
But he was a decathlon guy. And I forgot the guy's name, Stan something or other, who was, I think it was a stadium, the track out there is named after him, in fact, even. But
Harder?
Huh?
Well, isn't the stadium Harder Stadium?
No, this is the track field, the oval, the track where they run.
Okay.
The running track. And anyway, but that he was well known all over the world as a decathlon trainer, and that's what attracted a lot of decathlon trainers. But what you say, I think there's more than there were several decathlons. In fact, some foreigners, not Americans, who trained there too at one point. He has since passed away, unfortunately. The coach. Well, what else you got?
I was going to say, you raise any questions you like, or I was thinking of, I got a picture I labeled 230, and it's just a big tweet, so it's mostly white with the letters. There's somebody who's saying that now my daughter is banned from competing in athletics in a bunch of states. And he says, I think it's because she's trans. I thought, yeah.
My daughter is my daughter's put it back on, please. My daughter is barred from competing in active. Let's see, what is it? Let's see.
Athletics.
School sport. No, school sports. In something or other. It states it's all because she's trans.
Yeah.
Well,
how about that? Well, your daughter, who used to be a guy, can't be on the boxing team, or can't.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
my answer to that basically is, from now on, the men's and women's in the Olympics, for example, would be swimming, say for example, would be the males and would race, and then the females would race, and then there'd be a special medal for the trans.
Sure, you can do it that way.
There'd be a third sex basically in the Olympics. Don't laugh. Yeah. That could very well happen.
My version was just going to be everybody gets a DNA test, and there's a medal for XX and there's a medal for XY.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have a DNA check to put you in whatever category you want. Let's face it. I mean, you put some of these people, women that look like men, and on a basketball team. Of course, they're going to be stars, basically, of the girls' basketball team.
Sure. Oh,
But then
you know
again,
that.
how do you judge the trans and not trans in that? Who knows? Like you say, DNA.
Here's one I got a kick out of. I don't know if you ever uh, hear. I guess what's this guy's name? It's Bill Barr. Might be. It was just a skinny comedian, and he was talking about the NBA and the WNBA, and people were going on about how the WNBA should make the same money. And he says, "Why you just merge them?" He says, "Can you imagine? Suppose LeBron James comes out as a woman and he joins the WNBA and scores 1,000 points a game. You know?
Right, exactly. Hey,
But is it meaningful?
he just got the record, by the way, for the most
Yeah.
for any NBA player and so on. And did anybody check to see exactly who he was before? I saw him, in fact, when what's his name, the famous guy, had this camp out at UCSB and so on. LeBron James, as a high school student, came out and played.
Would that have been Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan's camp, yeah. Michael
Because I know
Jordan's camp.
Michael Jordan used to have part of O'Malley's, and we would see him in town occasionally.
Yeah,
I
that's
saw him
one
in town. He did a photo shoot in the area where I was working. So I looked down the other end of the reflecting pond and said, "Huh, Michael Jordan."
Yeah, he. I don't know if he has that camp anymore. I haven't heard much about it. I used to go to that though. Then you saw some pretty good basketball. I just as a side here, an experience that I had. I used to go to that. I didn't go to the camp, but you go late at night, and that's when they played the guys that were the coaches basically. And generally speaking, a lot of them were well-known college students who were playing basketball for that particular university that they were attending and so on, and they were very well known. They'd play each other, pickup game basically, and then they talked Michael Jordan into actually doing it. Well, I had this one kid, and the guy, Michael Jordan said, they gave it to him, and he went around Michael Jordan. He scored, got a basket and so on. Michael Jordan got the ball back, and he just waved everybody off the court and says, "I'm going to show him how I do it." And he went right. This is like he's 20 years older than this kid. And he went in and made a basket and so on. He still had the talent. But I don't know if he even had that. Just an aside, a little experience that I had. I'm sure but I'm sure I wasn't the only one. The fact it was very crowded whenever that late night thing happened. In fact, because you have to see people really, start, especially Michael Jordan, play basketball, and you did it for free. You got it for nothing. Anyway,
Actually, you had a couple of things I was interested in. You wanted to talk about
all right.
inflation and the debt limit, and I think that people hear so little about the basics of that I'm not even sure most people know what that actually is. They think that prices going up is inflation, instead of prices going up, of course, are a symptom of inflation.
Yeah. Well, inflation is, as I don't understand it myself, but again, it's simply defined as more money chasing fewer products. That there's things that they used to have the chain of supply was bad. They had all these ships parked outside, tankers or whatever, the cargo ships parked outside of L.A. Harbor. For the guys who sit out there for weeks, they couldn't unload their containers.
Okay.
Anyway, so that was
that's
I guess
the
that's part of
restriction
it.
supply model.
But I'll tell you what my theory on this inflation business and so on. Yes, there is more cost for certain things and so on. And so they get charged more for food and restaurants, for example, food and things like, or markets for that matter. So they got to pass the price along to the consumer. They're the ones that the inflation really affects. It's the people that of course they may be working in the market and so on. A lot of people affected by it. But the bottom line is, a lot of things that don't change. That all of a sudden there's a price. Well, for example, you have a restaurant and the guy next door to you has got to raise his price, doubled his price for ham and eggs and 50% or something like that and so on. But your cost has not changed. But hey, wait a minute, he's getting 50% more than I am for the same breakfast and so on. Well, I guess I'll up my price. But however, we live in a very competitive society here in this country. When it comes to products and so on, you may very well see that at some point the guy lowers his price, and now all the customers are coming over to his restaurant, and the guy that's upped his price is lost his business. That's what that's what it should be, and I think that's what happened. Now, of course, like gas stations. I mean, not gas doesn't always come come in when those big tanker trucks show up and so on. The cost of that gasoline may not be the same as the cost of the gas station next door to you, but he ups his price even though he got it the same price he got it the last time. He keeps his price the same way until that supply runs out. And then there's a lot of things like that. Clothing, you name it, basically. It isn't exactly. It gets to be the inflation gets to be a fad. No, that's the wrong term. It gets to be if you can get away with it, if anybody else get away with it, I'll just do it too. And it never comes down. The price of coffee used to be. I was just saying to myself today I remember when you went to a restaurant and you got the coffee for free. And or maybe 10 cents. Well, that day ended when all of a sudden in Brazil the coffee trees were dying off or something like that, and all of a sudden the coffee went to $2 and $3 for a cup of coffee, and it also started Starbucks. That's what that's when Starbucks started. All of a sudden, there's real money in it now. Anyway, that inflation to me is I don't really understand how it can happen, but that's...
All right, well, I had something I'd say about it, because I feel like you ran around every place except every place except the center of it. In this way, maybe I'm sort of a monetarist, but the government has literally created more dollars. When it spends when it spends beyond what it takes in, it borrows. It borrows from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve creates those dollars out of nothing. They didn't just have a bunch of dollars sitting around that they ship out because now you want to borrow them. It literally is created from nothing. The supply of dollars gets bigger.
Well, not nothing. It's a paper. they did paper and they did ink. That's what they do. They print it.
Nowadays, they don't need even that.
That's true. Yeah. They just tell the bank that when the Social Security check comes in, give the money to the guy who's supposed to get it and so on. Now we'll keep it, and the bank now turns it over to the Federal Reserve to get their credit. A little transfer of money electronically, and all of a sudden you've created more money.
So the point here is that
I don't know.
We've spent several additional trillions of dollars that they weren't in tax receipts, and so what that means is that people were building as many cars, digging out as much ore, farming as much food as before. It's just that now people show up in the marketplace who have a whole lot of dollars that nobody worked for. They've been created. They've been borrowed by the federal government. The federal government is squeezing you out. When it spends $1 trillion, it's buying $1 trillion worth of goods. You want to buy $1 trillion worth of goods, you got to earn $1 trillion. The federal government wants to buy $1 trillion worth of goods. It can just print it. It can just borrow it. At any rate, it undermines the value of everybody else's dollars. That's the way this works.
They sell it to the Federal Reserve. Well, where do they get the money to give to you and so on?
They create.
You've already said it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. That's it. And I'd like to do this stuff as a thought experiment with a little model. Like what you come into let's say, there's a little tourist town, really kind of nice. A lot of people like to live there, but there's not too much there. Thing is, when a ton of people show up with extra money, they bid up the price of everything.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that. There aren't more pancakes at the pancake house. There aren't more eggs in the grocery store. But people with more money came in and said, "Well, I want them. Well, these are already spoken for. Well, I got more money." I mean, it just that's why it's called inflation. It's just getting pumped up. Now, remember, dollars aren't wealth. The things that you buy with dollars are
Right,
wealth.
exactly.
Right? Like it's if you want a farm, the dollars for the farmer aren't the wealth. The farm is. So if you can show up with a bunch of dollars you got to just print, also called counterfeiting, then you get to claim stuff that you didn't work for.
Yeah,
At least if you're a car mechanic and people are paying you for fixing their stuff, when you go out and you buy something with that money, you worked for it. You've given something.
yeah.
The folks who get to do the inflating, they haven't given something.
That's what crypto gets me. I don't know what that is. What are you getting exactly? You don't even get a piece of paper saying that you have this asset and that.
No.
That it is what you just described. It's something you own something, but you get it electronically on your computer, and if it breaks down, what happened to your money all of a sudden? I don't understand. I think it's one of the greatest Ponzi schemes known to mankind. And that guy, that BT, whatever his name is, we got arrested in the
Bankman-Fried.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, whatever his name is, and so on. The
Sam
kid,
Bankman-Fried.
both his parents are professors at Stanford University, and he's living there at their house. In fact, he can't leave it. And so at this point in time, I don't know how they're going to convict the guy, because I don't think any jurors are going to understand exactly what the guy did. Named a stadium after himself in Florida or someplace. At least he said he did. I think they changed the name right back again to what it was before. Anyway, it's those things that just like you said, it's hard to understand this stuff. And the same, like the national debt, for example, that's supposedly is going to take the country down. That if they don't pass a new limit. And of course, a lot of the Democrats say, we'll just never have any limits anymore. We're just going to keep spending. That's what they love to do. But and the Republicans have gotten in on it too. Let's face it, you needed that vote to do it. It has been like that for a long time. I won't say hopefully, but it could very well be this time around. It's going to cost the Democrats some leverage and so on. And of course, it'll come up again in September, and something like that, or a new budget or something like that. We'll see what that did. The omnibus bill they passed, $1.7 trillion, and nobody really knows where that money is going to be going. They just sort of.
There should be no omnibus bills. Omnibus it means it's everything.
Yeah.
People, they love omnibus bills because they get to shovel everything they couldn't make a good argument for into that bill and get the money for it.
Yeah.
That's
go ahead.
hideous.
They used to call that
Continuing resolution.
continuing resolution, right? But before now they call it special things or something like that are in the bill that identifies certain bridges and
earmarks,
so on.
pork barrel.
Earmark, yeah. They used to be called pork barrel. Pork barrel because that's where the pigs went to get their food. That's what they did. And in fact, in this last bill, there was only 4,000 of these special things. What did you call them a minute ago?
Earmarks?
Earmarks, yeah. It was like 4,000, more than 4,000 earmarks. Well, of course, a lot of the guys, even the Republicans voted, they needed some Republicans to vote for, because they'll get a bridge for their community, which they could take credit for, and have their name printed on the bridge, a highway, or any kind of a new recreation center for the old people, or something like that, would have his name on it.
So here's I say no deficit spending at all.
Yeah, exactly.
If you didn't take the money in, you don't get to spend it.
Yeah.
And when one of the things that goes on here is if you can just print more money, then nobody ever has to prioritize. I mean, you and I, we might look at
There'll always be more money.
At the end of the month, you look and you say, I'm going to have to decide, maybe I don't go out to dinner as many times this time around, or maybe
Right.
you have to decide among the several things that you wish you had, which one you're going to get first and which one's going to have to wait.
Yeah.
But if you're the government, you say, I'll get them all.
That's what gets
In
me.
fact-
A lot of these spent locally here. In fact, the budget they'd establish a budget for what they're going to spend for next year. That's what they've done. The city and the county and all that have done that, and any entity, local entity, would do that. How do they get that budget? Well, they go ahead and they think what we will be getting in. How much money will we actually? No, not actually. How much money do we think we're gonna make more taxes for this, or well, for example, the hotel tax? Should we up it? If we up it, we'll get more money. Well, what happens if the occupancy goes down? So they don't have the money that they're spending the budget on. They don't even have the money. They think they will have the money, and sometimes they don't. And in fact, most cases they don't. For example, pensions in this country. How much money are we going to make on the market with investments and so on? And they've missed that target all the time. So what do? They go back to the school. They go back to the school districts and say, "Well, you're going to have to contribute more money because we legislated that the teachers and so on and so forth are supposed to get more money." For example,
they simply lie. That's another one of the reforms that's needed. Pensions. Oh, who guarantees the pensions? Oh, the government, because the government has a taxing power. Well, I was in the private sector. I didn't have a pension. I had what they call a contributory 401k or a contributory IRA, where what I get is going to be something generated from what I saved.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to be on the hook for the possibly lavish retirements of people who get to basically set it all politically. Look at
makes them rich. According to $200,000 a year, that's according to Obama is a rich man. That's a lot of government employees. They get $200,000 a year in this
of them get that
in this state of California. That's their retirement.
In retirement.
Yeah.
I'm looking at people who are doing vastly better in retirement than I did the best year I ever worked.
Exactly, and they retire early too, 50, 55 years old. That's and a government job you can't be fired. You could come to work naked, and you can't be fired. You might be put on leave for temporarily, but you can buy some clothes. Anyway, you only got a minute left, so I guess we'll just end it right there. I guess pretty much, and so on. You got all kinds of stuff to talk about all the time. Hunter Biden. That party's not over. He's going to sue them now. Well, that may be a big mistake.
If we'd had a chance to do the videos, I would have wanted to rerun the one where Biden got a Ukrainian prosecutor fired because he was interfering with Hunter making money.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, and we'll see you again for more of our discussion. We have this pretty much every time we kind of do a show every time we meet, don't we, Bob?
Pretty much. Anytime we get lunch or something, we have a talk like this, and it might as well have been recorded.
Anyway, okay, thank you very much, and we'll see you again.